Here is Oregon, a place to lift and celebrate the very best of Oregon. Thanks to our exclusive auto partner, Subaru, for being a proud supporter. Get the good stuff every day at hereisoregon.com or follow us on your favorite social media platform at Here is Oregon. Share the good.
Hello, hello. Welcome back to Peak Northwest, an outdoors and travel podcast by the Oregonian and Oregon Live, dedicated to the adventure and exploration of our beautiful Pacific Northwest. I'm Jamie Hale.
And I'm Vicki Connor. Together, we take you to some of the most beautiful and interesting destinations in our region, discussing where to go, what to do, and places to see. And today, we're talking about one of the most scenic places on the Oregon coast, the little town of Manzanita.
Yeah, that's right. You know, a lot of people really like Manzanita, and it already has a pretty good reputation as one of the most beloved little hamlets on the North Oregon coast. But recently, the town got a little more attention after it was named one of the 55 most beautiful small towns in America by Architectural Digest. Now, we should all take these kinds of articles with a grain of salt, I think. And it's especially noteworthy that Manzanita is only one of 2 towns in the Pacific Northwest on the list, the other being Friday Harbor in Washington. But still, it's a nice feather in the town's cap, I think.
Gotta love some recognition. I've stayed in and around Manzanita a few different times, and it's been lovely every single time. And Jamie, I know you love the coast. Mm-hmm. What's your take on Manzanita?
Yeah, I mean, I don't usually stay in Manzanita. I usually stay in Cannon Beach because what I like is like the nice walking in that little downtown Cannon Beach area with all the shops and the restaurants and Haystack Rock. My feeling about Manzanita is that this is the town that people like to go to if Cannon Beach is too busy, too much, which it definitely can be. So Manzanita's kind of has more of sort of the vacation rentals, the cottages. It's a little bit of a slower pace. It's not quite as crowded. And there still are lots of restaurants, things to do, a really beautiful beach right there, and a lot of good outdoor options for people who want to get out and explore the coastline.
For sure. And to give people a little sense of place about where exactly Manzanita is, how far south of it is it from Cannon Beach?
I can't think of the miles off the top of my head, but it's just south of Cannon Beach. If you're driving south from Cannon Beach, you're going to pass some beaches. You're going to go around Oswald West State Park. And then the next town you're going to come to is Manzanita.
Got it. Okay, so if anyone's curious, if anyone does not have access to the Architectural Digest write-up at this moment, I'll read you what they have to say about Manzanita, listed at 41 out of 55 in this list. I don't know if it's in any particular order. I'm not sure if it's in any particular order, but okay, here we go. Hold on one second. All right, so Manzanita, Oregon. Along the Pacific Ocean shoreline in far western Oregon are miles of sparsely populated beaches, the town of Manzanita included. With Neahkahnie Mountain off in the distance, you get beach dunes and mountains in one view. They gave Manzanita 2 sentences, and that's what we got. So, with a lovely picture as well of the shore. So,
yeah, I was waiting for more. I think, it does sound like a lot of small towns in the Oregon coast. And it's interesting to me that Manzanita is sort of the one that got the nod. That's not saying they don't deserve it. It's a great town. It's just interesting that I think there's so many towns in the Oregon coast that are beautiful and have lots of great scenery and great things to do. So it's interesting Manzanita got its turn, but good for them. I think that's really cool.
For sure. Okay, so where should we start when we talk about Manzanita? I'm curious, what do we feel like the general vibe of the town is?
Yeah, I mean, I think like, what I said earlier about it being sort of the people for whom Cannon Beach is a little too busy, that's not to say Manzanita does not get busy. I mean, I've driven into Manzanita on like a winter weekday, and it's been like locals only, totally dead. So you can have that feel if you want it. But like on a warm summer weekend, you're still going to get cars lining the streets, people packing the beach. But again, this is an Oregon coast beach. So all that said, you might find crowds in the restaurants, but you can go out to the beach and find plenty of room to spread out by yourself. And it's a beautiful beach too. So I think it's a pretty typical coast town vibe, but obviously more laid back than Cannon Beach or Seaside or Newport. You're going to have crowds, but it's not going to be the swarms of people because there's simply not as much to do there as those other bigger towns.
I've done like hikes in and around Manzanita. I've gone crabbing in and around Manzanita. But I don't think I've gone directly into the town, like proper Manzanita. So what are some of your favorite activities to do in and around there besides obviously like just, walking along the beach?
Well, you mentioned kind of doing some hikes around there, and I think that's a great place to start because it also gives you an idea of the geography of this area. So I think, when people talk about spending time in and around Manzanita, the first thing that comes to mind is Oswald West State Park, which is a state park just north of the town. So, talk about Neahkani Mountain. That is technically a part of that state park, but there's also some other recognizable landmarks. A Short Sand Beach is one of those. This is one of the best known beaches for surfing on the Oregon coast. And it's a really cute little beach tucked away into a cove at the end of a little trail through the woods. And it's a really, really nice spot. But between the surfing spot, the mountain, which you can hike to the top of, there's also just a bunch of really beautiful trails that go through the park that lead you through some forest, out to some more coves or some cliff edges, off to some more little beaches. It's a really nice park, and it's one of those spots that's enormously popular for really good reason.
Yeah, I have been to Short Sand once with a few of my friends, and I brought my dog Stella as well. And we went in the winter time, so it was definitely cold, but I will be the person who takes their shoes off and has my toes in the sand no matter the temperature.
Good for you.
So my toes were numb at the end of that stint, but it was still so beautiful. And we went right at sunset, and the colors, it was insane. The beach also, I guess, the beach was just huge from where we started after you walk through the trail in the woods to get there. And it was just wide and sprawling, and a lot of people had their dogs up. Everyone was just kind of like walking their dog on their leash, running around. And it was super peaceful, even with a good amount of people there.
Yeah, it's a really beautiful place. I really like, all of Oswald West State Park. I think it's really nice. So, we were talking about sort of understanding the geography of the place here. So Oswald West and Neahkani Mountain is the north side of Manzanita. On the south side, you have Nehalem Bay. So this is a large sort of bay at the mouth of the Nehalem River. And what a lot of people like to do is go kayak there. It's a really nice sort of calm kayaking spot. When you have enough water in there, obviously. Really nice spot to see some wildlife, do some bird watching, go in there. And right at where the bay meets the ocean is Nehalem Bay State Park. So this is a long sort of a sand spit, leading up to the mouth of the ocean, leading south from Manzanita. So if you were to walk on the beach south from the main hub of Manzanita, you're going to walk right into Nehalem Bay State Park. And it goes on there for a couple of miles down on this long spit. And this is another popular spot for, again, beach walking, but also horseback riding on the beach. People do that there. There's a little campground there as well. That's really nice for people who want to stay the night. It's a really nice spot, I think, for, whether you're doing a day on the beach or you want to do a little bit more exploring.
Totally. And we've probably talked about this in past episodes when Jim was on as co-host, but we did the video episode of Peak Northwest in Nehalem Bay at Kelly's Brighton Marina, so kind of on the other side of the river. And we went crabbing at Kelly's, and that was a great time. I've been there twice now, once just for funsies on my own, and then another time for work. And both times it was great. We ate crab afterwards. Even when it's a little rainy, it's still such a fun time. And if you haven't been crabbing before and you want to get out there, I will plug Kelly's because it's a great place for you to get started. You take out the boat, you get a few crab rings, and you try your hand at catching some crab.
It sounds super fun. There's just so much to do right there on that bay, and so much to do around, I think the whole area of Manzanita. But we should, of course, talk about, I think, probably some of the reasons that people go to Manzanita other than the natural beauty of it, which is a really good reason to go. But still, this is also, there are a bunch of little restaurants and shops and things to do right there in downtown Manzanita. And, it's something I have spent some time doing, but not as much as some of our colleagues here. So when this news about Manzanita being on this list broke, there was some chatter in our Slack channel about what are some of the best places to eat in Manzanita. And I thought it was really great to sort of cull from some of that. So we have some recommendations from some of our colleagues who really do love Manzanita as well. And the one I think that people keep talking about the most is Left Coast Siesta.
Left Coast Siesta. I have not been there. What are people saying? It
seems like it's a pretty chill, like lunch spot, or, just a really sort of laid back place to grab a bite to eat. It seems like the move there is their burritos. Our colleague Sam Swindler, who's been on the show a couple of times, raves about the burritos at Left Coast Siesta. So if you're looking for something simple, maybe you had a day out hiking, or you just got into town and you need to kill some time before your vacation rental opens. Left Coast Siesta. Grab yourself a burrito, maybe a beer, or some nachos. I don't know. It's not like, fancy by any means. It doesn't appear, but it seems like just a really nice, like chill, laid back spot to get some like affordable food.
Yeah, I just Googled Left Coast Siesta, and they are touting on their website that they serve the best burritos and more on the Oregon coast for over 25 years.
Oh, man. Throwing down the gauntlet.
Might have to try it next time I'm there.
There's one spot that I've been to that I'll put in this list. It wasn't necessarily because I had the best meal ever, the best experience ever, but I really thought it was really notable just because of sort of the vibe and the scene there. So this is, I'd mentioned I'd gone there on like a winter weekday. And when I was in town, I stopped off at this place called the Offshore Grill. And it was really cool. It was like definitely like the locals hangout spot. So I went there like first thing in the morning to get a cup of coffee, maybe a bite to eat. And it was like, people like hanging out, reading the newspaper, gossiping about like small town drama. And I got a coffee and just kind of eavesdropped a little bit around the cafe. And it was fabulous, I have to say. There's something to be said about like going to like that spot that's clearly the local spot. It's not necessarily the hippest, the trendiest, the best, but this is the spot where people like go to hang. And I think you really get a feel for a town by going to some of those places and just observing and listening and just sort of getting a good sense of the vibe.
Absolutely. Okay, I have to talk about a bakery because if I'm going somewhere, I'm going to get my sweet treat.
That's right.
So both of the times that I went crabbing at Kelly's, afterwards we stopped at this bakery called, wait for it here, Sisters and Pete's Coffee and Treats. And I love a rhyme in a name, so right there, that sold me when I was doing my research to find a place. But seriously, this place is so good. They have like personal sized pies, and then of course there's regular sized pies as well, but then just like an assortment of cookies and other baked goods and wonderful stuff. Also, after I was like freezing after going crabbing in the rain, they had hot chocolate there that it was one of those things where like you're so cold that hot chocolate just hits the spot, tastes like the best thing you've ever had. So you basically walk in and it is all the items in the front display case just look like they've been made with love from, your grandma, your aunt, or, someone in the family. It's very quaint and homey when you walk in, and that's what I loved about it. Not only were the baked goods amazing, tasted great, but it's just small and quaint and nice.
I love that. I love like a warm hot chocolate or like a hot slice of pie in like this time of year especially. Oh, that sounds so nice right now.
Yeah. Highly recommend.
Wow. So, just really so many places there in town. This is just a few. Just to sort of name drop a couple others quickly. Yolk is like an egg yolk is a brunch spot that comes recommended and looks really good to me also. It's a spot I am interested to check out. And McGregor's Whiskey Bar is one that a lot of people talk about too. I know my parents, when they go to Manzanita, they like to stop off there. Seems like a pretty good vibe. I talked to the owners once for a story, and they seem like they really care about the whiskey selection, and I think that's pretty cool too. So looking for a place for maybe some cocktails, for some stormy weather drinks, McGregor's is a good spot as well.
Yum, yum. All right, adding these all to my list for next time I'm at this highly rated town of Manzanita. So what other attractions have I been missing in Manzanita? Are there any other things to do or see while you're there?
Yeah, I mean, to my knowledge, at least, there's not a lot of like sort of big name attractions. There's no like, aquarium or Ripley's Believe It or Not. Those are both in Newport. But like any good small town in Oregon, there is a small local bookstore. And this one in Manzanita looks particularly cute, and it's got a great name too. It's called Cloud and Leaf. I have not been there, but this is another one that comes recommended from our colleagues. So, I love going to little bookshops in small towns. And I think it's always interesting to see like what books they have and which ones they choose to display. Again, this is the kind of thing I like going, getting a sense of a town and of the people of a town, and going to little bookshops that way shows you just another facet of that.
Totally. And that's just like in the little downtown area of Manzanita?
Yeah. I mean, almost everything we've been talking about is in this one little like 4-block strip of Manzanita. There's, if you come into town, along the main road, you're going to pass all of these things. So what's nice to do is, especially if the weather's nice, just park somewhere down there and take a walk down the road, pop your head into places, go down to the beach. I think that's just a really nice way to check it out.
For sure. Okay, so I know we discussed that normally when you're on the coast, you usually stay in Cannon Beach. Are there any options for places to stay in Manzanita?
Well, there's so many good options. Like I said, there's a lot of sort of vacation rentals there. It's not like Seaside. You're not going to have like these big high-rise hotels or anything like that. But there is a really cool spot that is relatively new, and this is the Manzanita Schoolhouse. So this is like a remodeled old schoolhouse, the Pine Grove Schoolhouse, right there in town, that has been turned into like a vacation stay. I have not done this yet, but we did a story about this back in 2020, and it's, I think, really cool. It is a little expensive. The rates are like closer to like the $900 a night, $1,000 a night. But this is more like, if you're going with a big group of people, for example, this is kind of a great option for that. If it's just a couple, just the two of you, or just by yourself, maybe don't do the Manzanita Schoolhouse. But if you have a big family or big group of friends, this is a nice way to go about it. But I mean, I think when it comes to Manzanita, if you just go looking around for some vacation rentals, I think that's the way to go. Think like charming cottages. There's definitely some hotels there as well, some little inns, that sort of thing. Some little cabins and cottages. I mean, it's a very cute town. And I think leaning into that sort of like small town, homey feel is the way to go.
Also, just going back to Manzanita Schoolhouse, it does sleep about 20 people. So definitely bring some friends if you're going.
There you go.
Oh, man. Amazing. Well, I do enjoy going to the coast in the winter time, and there's nothing like walking along the beach when it's cold out, not a lot of people around. So I am excited to get back to Manzanita sometime soon. Are we missing anything? Did we skim over anything?
I think we covered, I mean, obviously there's a lot more there to discover. And I think that's the thing. You go and you poke around and you find stuff on your own. As much as people like to ask me for recommendations as like a travel writer, I love when people just kind of go off on their own as well and discover things, because that's kind of the joy. You can make an itinerary and plan, and I want to go to this place, get that place, but until you're in that town, you might not really have a good sense of what's there or what draws your attention. And I think that's a good way to go to a place like this that has so many fun little spots. It's just to go and explore and figure it out.
Yeah. There's also nothing like the serendipity of just walking into somewhere, stumbling upon something and finding something great without even doing a ton of research. Yeah. And you're like, oh man, and this was meant to be.
Exactly. And that happens sometimes. And to add one more thing to this list here, I guess, that happened to me in Manzanita where I was in town and I was just looking for some some lip balm because mine had melted or something in my car. It was newly fall. And I popped in this little kind of natural grocery store there to get some lip balm. And they had all kinds of stuff there. It was a really nice little natural grocery store, all kinds of food. And I remember thinking if I'm staying in Manzanita and I want to do some cooking, this is a great spot to go support a local grocery and get some good, healthy, natural food. And it just, came from me looking for some lip balm. And it's those kinds of things where you discover a place. And I might not have ever stopped in there otherwise.
Too good. Do you remember the name of the grocery store?
Gosh, I could find it here in Google Maps. But I'm going to let people discover it on their own. Yeah. And if you've been to town, I'm sure you know the one. I clearly did not remember. This is a number of years ago now. But hey, go pop into little places and figure it out and discover it on your own. I think that's a great way to go.
Well, I cannot wait until I have an excuse or just a free weekend to make my way back to Manzanita sometime soon.
Me too. I'm thinking stormy skies, hot pie, and a cute little cottage somewhere. That's what I'm thinking.
Absolutely. You got to go get your sweet treat.
Well, folks, until next time, you can watch our videos on Oregonians' YouTube channel and view all of our travel and outdoors coverage on OregonLive.com/travel, as well as HereIsOregon.com.
Please leave us a rating or review if you enjoy the show, and if you want to support this podcast and our local journalism, please consider a subscription to Oregon Live. You can find details at OregonLive.com/pod support. Also, if you're a fan of the show and you're interested in potentially sponsoring it, you can get in touch with our marketing people at advertise@Oregonian.com. This episode of the show was produced by me, Vicki Connor, alongside Jamie Hale and Andrew Thien.
Stay safe and happy travels, everyone. Until next time, we leave you with this 10 seconds of Zen.